Hello all, myself Dr. Achal Kaushik, Computer Science Department, Bhagwan Parshuram Institute of Technology. Today's topic is input devices. Now, in the previous unit, we have discussed about various aspects of input and output devices. In the introduction part, we have discussed that how we take the input, how the system is going to process that input, and how it is being used by the output device to display to the user. Now, in this particular unit, we are going to discuss about the different input devices they are generally being used for the purpose of getting and giving data to the system. Now, first of the device is keyboard. Now, probably this is one thing that we generally use most often with our computer devices. Now, input is a primary input device where we have the buttons which creates letter, numbers and symbols. As already we have discussed that it is about the user interface which is being given to the user because they understand it that way, but system need to understand that in different format. So, the idea over here is that these keyboards which contains different alphabets, digits, special characters, they all are being taken care at the system end, that how they are going to map to the binary digits for the processing. Now, in general, we use keyboard for various purposes. It is not only giving these simple characters to the system, but there are different aspects in terms of using internet, using multimedia and all those things which are being facilitated through different keyboards. Now, there are different layouts available with the different versions of the keyboards available, but most prominently it is being used as QWERTY keyboard. The prime purpose of giving it the name as QWERTY is that on the top row we are having those alphabets in the same order: Q, W, E, R, T and Y. So, easily we can recognize that this is storing about a QWERTY keyboard. Now, earlier the idea is to get the information by the system through these keyboards. So, they were being assumed that 84 characters were sufficient to deal with all the requirement of the keyboard. But later on it was identified that there are certain more characters which can be used, more functions can be used. So, these keys have been improvised to 104. But nowadays we have mostly being used as a multimedia keyboards which have roughly 120 to 130 keys on the keyboard. Now, how these keys are being aligned? Now, on the top row we have the function keys which are having the specific role. Now, these function keys may be related to providing you help, maybe providing you the refresh the screen, or maybe providing you to make your screen as a full screen and other things. Other than that, in the second row we would be having simple characters starting with, like said, Q, W, E, R, T. So, all the 26 English characters are being there in between those rows, and then we have the number keys. Now, depending on the type of keyboard we may have at two places these number keys, or it may be at one place. So, depending on the size of the keyboard they are assigned that way, and mostly in laptops we are having these number keys at one place. Now, these keyboards being used for quite some time, and there are a number of changes that have been observed in their made. So, earlier we used to have the keyboards which are providing you PS2 or serial port. Now, we understood that if you go and check the systems, there are two different types of ports being available which are marked with, say, a teal color and purple color, where the purple color port, this PS2 port, is being easily characterized as the keyboard port. But nowadays we have different versions of these keyboards, and mostly it is being used either as a Bluetooth keyboard or USB bound keyboard, or sometimes even we have the wireless. For the wireless communication we are using these Bluetooth keyboards. Now, the idea remains the same, that for interacting with the system, the foremost thing that we need is to give the input, and for that we have those keyboards. Nowadays we have further classification of these keyboards where no physical keyboard is required, like the touch screen, and we are having those in our mobiles, where the logical keyboard actually comes up onto the screen, and they are actually supporting the same purpose which these keyboards are doing. The next input device, again an important one, that is the mouse. Now this is again a pointing device which controls the cursor in a GUI manner. Now GUI here is graphical user interface. Now earlier most of the systems are command line based, where we have to instruct the system to perform different tasks through the commands. But it becomes tedious at points to remember all those commands. For that there was evolved of GUI based system, where you can actually make use of these mouse to select, to drag, to give input to the system. Now most general observations about these mouse are that we can select text, we can select icons, we can select files, we can select folders, we can open folders, we can select properties and all those things. So any mouse, in any general mouse could have three such buttons, generally left button, right button, and at the center we have a wheel which actually being used to scroll up and scroll down. There are other functions which we can associate with any mouse in terms of their uses. Maybe a person who is left-handed, they can switch the operation of left and right button, or even sometimes we can make use of the central wheel button to perform different operation like opening of a folder or so. So it all depends the uses, and we have the flexibility of changing these functions from the system itself. Now if we are using the mouse, the most important concept that actually comes to us is that we need not to remember those tedious instructions for the system to perform. And again, like our keyboards, our mouse also in earlier versions being supported with PS2 port. Now in this case, the port which is being represented with teal color is actually mark of the mouse. So we can easily identify the keyboard and mouse PS2 ports by virtue of their colors. Also there are some symbols being formed on the back of your system, where you can recognize that this port is being made for keyboard or this port is being made for mouse. There are other types of mouses which are being used nowadays. I mean, obviously we have the Bluetooth one, wireless, we have serial port, we have USB port. So they are most advanced versions which are being nowadays used with the systems. Now there are different types of mouse being used. Earlier we have the mechanical mouse, where we have a roller ball, and by making movement of that ball we can move the mouse and the cursor. Then we have the optical mouse, which nowadays we use through a laser beam. It detects the direction of movement and accordingly it performs the operation. Then we have the IntelliMouse, wheel mouse. We have the joystick, which is very much famous amongst the game players. They are making use of all the up down movement through that joystick as if they have the lever, and they can perform all the operation that a simple mouse can do. Then we have a trackball, which is generally being used on different laptop devices, whereas very small tiny ball are being there, which its movement can define that where we are moving the cursor position. Then we have a touch pad, which is mostly being used in our laptops, where we have two buttons and a rectangular shape box where we can actually move our fingers to assign the different tasks in terms of selecting a particular icon, or maybe finding out the properties of a particular folder, and so on and so forth. Then we have the glide point touchpad also. So these are the things which are being used as a mouse in advanced form. Then we have the another input device, that are scanners. Now scanners are optical scanners and also a hardware input device whose basic purpose is to read an image and convert it into a digital signal. Now most often we come across with these mouse and keyboards whenever we are with our system, but we come across with these scanners nowadays at a lot of places. Now they are actually going to perform and convert the printed picture, drawing or document into a digital life. Now these scanners are being used not only to scan the digital image or converting into a hard copy, but they are also used for various other purposes, to giving input to the system. Now one of such example is that we generally go to any shopping mart and want to purchase something. They are going to make use handheld scanner who is going to scan some barcode onto the object, and then from the system, they are able to find out all the details pertaining to it. Now, other than that, I mean, we have the card reader. I mean, we can scan the card. We have the fingerprint scanner, where we are using those scanners to provide robustness and security to our devices. Now, most of the mobiles, phones which are coming nowadays are having these fingerprint sensor. I mean, they are giving a security aspect to the user that nobody else can use and access knowing the password, because it is a very unique fingerprint impression which will be utilized in terms of opening the device. Then we have the barcode reader. I mean, as what we have discussed, it may be used in our libraries, in shopping malls and other places where we can actually fetch all the details just scanning out that barcode. These scanners are actually again being connected with the system through different ports and interfaces. It may be through USB cable, it may be a parallel port, or it may be SCSI connection, right. Then we discuss about the microphone. This is another input device which is widely being used for the purpose of input to the computer. Now, we are recording audio for a video, then we need a microphone. I mean, even at this point of time, I am having this microphone with me. I mean, I am speaking this microphone, and it is being processed and giving the information to the system for processing. Now, there are different uses of the microphone. It is not only to send the information in terms of processing with the video, but it may be used for making voice over internet protocol calls. Nowadays, we use our mobile phones for making internet calls, and for that we need those microphones which are directly being accessing the noise or the voice around us. Then we have voice recognition for digital assistants. I mean, probably we are using Google's assistant, I mean, in terms of giving different instructions, and for that, by making use of our mic, we can directly instruct, okay, I want to go to say some place, so I need not to type and all those things. I can directly make use of my microphone and instruct the system to process it accordingly. Then even sometimes these mics are being used for online chatting. They are used for computer gaming, because there are number of devices. I mean, online games are being there where multiple users can access the system simultaneously, and to give a real life experience, they can make use of their voice for interaction, and there these mics can serve the purpose. Then, I mean, the only idea that what we have to do is to plug into a sound card, and then microphone port will do the rest, because as what we have discussed earlier, that it is about that interface, not only the device, but that interface which is going to facilitate how these things are going to take place. Now, we have different types of microphones. As what we have discussed, it is a clip-on, it may be a closed talk, it may be unidirectional, it may be bidirectional, it may be omnidirectional. I mean, the idea remains the same, that for which purpose we want to make use of these microphones. It may be that multiple users are doing it, so omnidirectional can work fine. At different industry and business hubs where we take the interviews and all, so the mic used is bidirectional. And then for other points, when we are making personal use of the system to communicate with some other, then we can use the unidirectional microphone. So we can make use of these microphone as an input device for various purposes. Then we have another device as webcam. I mean, we know these webcams are again being either embedded with the system, or they are external device, and they are generally being connected with USB nowadays. So they are being widely used with mic for the communication. If we are making any call, like Skype call we are making, or a Zoom meeting we are attending, sometimes we are doing the Google Meet, then simply by making use of these webcams, we can interact with the users. And this gives a clear view of the things, that as if we are interacting one-to-one. So this is very handy device where it actually captures the stills, and also it records the video, and for that purpose it processes and give it to the purpose of processing for different purposes. So this is another device which is widely being used, and nowadays, because it is being embedded with your laptops or computers, or even with the mobile phone, so they are more handy. You need not to carry other devices, so they are inbuilt with the system itself. Now, another input device is touch screen. I mean, like we discussed about the keyboard, mouse, they are various being used by the users for the purpose when they are performing the operation of the system, but nowadays the touch screen is another input device which is being widely used in and around. I mean, you go and book for some information, you want to go and check a kiosk over there, and that will facilitate you with the touch screen to get and fetch the information. Now it may be that you want to go and book a railway ticket. You can do, there is a touch screen available, you can perform the operation on your own without any assistance. I mean, it may be that you want to check some digital library over there and you want to simply use the touch screen to fetch the information. So it is giving you an idea for that information. But at this point, I mean, even if I am saying it to be an input device, but most of the time this is not exactly only an input device, but it serves the purpose of both input and output device, because once we are giving the input through the touch mechanism, it is an input device, but at the same time if it is giving information to us for viewing purposes, then it becomes an output device. So it is a part of input output device. Now the basic idea is that it interacts with the computer by virtue of our fingers or stylus. I mean, it is again a type of pen which perform these operations, and this is very much an alternative of our mouse and keyboard. We need not to carry all the times these things because they are very handy, and it provides navigate a graphical user interface very easily. Then we have variety of other devices where we use it, like laptops, smartphones, tablets, and information kiosks which may be available at the railway station, maybe at airport, maybe at other places. I mean, even for malls, these information are being available. And then we have the point of sale. I mean, directly user can perform their own expenditure over the things by making use of selecting the things and paying the amount using these touchscreens, right. So basically they perform the operation by virtue of having a grid of infrared beams to sense the presence of a finger. It may be a capacitive or resistive. Now how we can make use of it? I mean, simply by tapping, like we do it with our mouse. Double tap to open and perform other operation. It may be touch and hold, it may be drag, it may be swipe, it may be pinch to zoom in and zoom out. So various operations that we generally use through the mouse in combination with keyboard can easily be performed using a touch screen using our fingers alone. So this is very handy device and very popular in terms of its uses. Now another device is being the biometric device. I mean, we know a part of it, that what we have discussed through the scanner, but there are different types of biometric, they are available for the purpose. They may be using the biological features, and they are very, very important from the security purposes, like your fingerprint, your voice, even your face. Sometimes we can use our whole hand, palm, iris and retina. I mean, our eyes can serve the same purpose. So we have the different types of biometric devices available, and we can make use of these devices for the purpose of giving information to the system, right. We may have a face scanner, we may have a hand scanner, finger scanner, retina scanner, voice scanner. So these are the different input devices in terms of the biometric one. Now there are other input devices as well. Now, like we have the magnetic strip reader. We go for shopping and we want to pay the amount, then they offer us a swipe machine. We use our ATM card and swipe that machine, and the machine will read the information, and accordingly we would be able to pay for that. Then in the medical industry, we have the medical imaging devices like X-ray, CAT scan and ultrasound images. So these are the big machines which are actually being used for inputting these things. Then we have a MIDI keyboard. Now MIDI keyboard is simply a musical instrument. A digital interface is being provided for the purpose. So for those who are recording their music, songs, etc., they can make use of these MIDI keyboard, and they are connected with your system and convert those analog signals to the digital one and process accordingly. Then we have MICR, magnetic ink character reader. I mean, like we are having our checks, and they are being actually sensed with these machines, and they sense the validity of them. Then we have OMR reader, optical mark reader, which is widely being used for the examination purposes. We come across with so many competitive exams where user perform these MCQs on an OMR sheet, and then these OMR reader are being used to get the result very quickly. I mean, a number of sheets can be fetched quickly from it. Then we have pen or stylus, which is actually being used on a touch screen. Now if we want to take notes, or we want to make a drawing, we want to make some objects, so all these things can simply be being used using these pens. Then we have the punch card readers. I mean, these are the earlier versions of giving the inputs. Nowadays they are obsolete. Now other than that, we also have IO devices which are actually serving both the purposes. And as what we have discussed earlier, that most of these IO devices are receiving data from user and send data to another device. I mean, that is output. So it may be your CD rewritable disk. I mean, we can store a lot of information on these days at any point of time, then they are going to act as an input device. But once we want to fetch that information, I mean, that means probably we have stored some information in terms of our images, videos, and now after a certain interval of time we want to take a look on that. So we can get back to the CD drive and we put our CD or DVD on it and we can access those information. We may copy and paste it on our drive or process otherwise. So these are the input output devices. Then we have floppy disk. I mean, though they are being obsolete nowadays, but we know that we can carry these information from one place to another. We can keep these information in the drive and at any point of time later on we can make use of them. Then we have the hard drives. We already discussed this aspect that no system can actually perform by mere making use of your main memory. We need to have some storage devices, and those storage devices are being used for the purpose of storing a lot of information. And these information would be available for the purpose for later use. So we can store them at different point of time and we can make use of it differently. Then we have modems. We have network interface card. I mean, these are being used for our internet uses. We are communicating through them to send our bit and bytes and making a communication to browse the internet. Then we have USB flash drive. Now this is again very universal nowadays for its portability and having large capability of storing information. So these are the different devices that what we have for the input devices. In next class we will be discussing about the output devices. Thank you.